The prices come down too, so.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Commissioner.
All right, Bannock County Commissioners are back in session. No changes to our agenda, but our first items are ambulance.
Mr. Chair, I move that we enter into the Board of Ambulance.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we have that $35,000 invoice and also a refund, overpayment.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we accept the invoices as presented and exit the Board of Ambulance.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next we have Commissioners' invoices, credit applications, Commissioners' report. A couple questions.
Yep.
It's good that you guys are here too. So, this monthly fee for GPS, but the sheriff's office has one and it's an annual fee. Your monthly fee is $500 and the sheriff's office annual fee is $800. What's the difference in what you guys are
Both
doing?
of those on those?
Yeah. And then there's one for, also for, what is it, mosquito? They have GPS also. So,
I don't know what the sheriff's department, do they have actual GPSs on their vehicles? Because that's what ours are, is the vehicle one,
Well, I think each police car has
has one.
something like that, but honestly, I've never paid attention to theirs, but yours has always kind of been on my radar.
I think it's something we need to look at. If they're paying an annual fee of $800 and something, you're paying a $500.
They're different companies.
Yeah.
Let me call Teresa real quick and ask her what this 840 is, if it's, let me call her.
Okay,
real quick.
that just, like I say, when I just was going through that just before I got up here.
Yeah, because right now ours is a monthly fee on each vehicle, so if you have 10 vehicles, you know, that's where that cost comes from.
Well, that's, like I say, they were just a page apart when I was going through this on the, and I'm going, okay, how come we're paying a monthly fee of $500 and an annual fee of, $850? If there's something that we could do there.
Look at that one, because that's a pretty good deal.
I don't know if you know anything about this other one. Another one I have, reimbursing Supreme Court.
Is that is for, I'm sure, for the training that happened in October, that is the ICM, where a lot of our court employees attend that one. But that's not.
The Supreme Court bring a lot of people down? Oh, that just seemed like, why are we reimbursing the Supreme Court? That should be part of what
Yeah,
they should do.
double check with her
Christie.
when she comes in.
Two totally different things.
Okay,
So what we're just paying for are GPS monitors in each of the vehicles. And what that one is more related to drug-related cases, and there might only be one or two at the most units, and so that's why the price is so much different.
okay.
And it's more of a mobile device, without going into too much
Yeah,
detail.
that's fine. The revolving fund reimbursements, and we've talked about that, but do they submit paperwork? I mean, all I see is
Yes.
we give money to somebody for a revolving fund.
Yeah, so revolving fund is like petty cash, but because they have officers and people that are 24/7, when they have somebody traveling to do a prisoner transport, then it's to give them per diem for foods, stuff like that.
Okay.
And I can, anytime you see those, let me know and I can bring the stack up, because there's usually a pretty decent stack, but it is broken out.
And that's what I was just wondering how the paperwork was being
Yeah,
done,
yeah,
basically.
it's very detailed. It's the
Okay.
same requirements we do for all the other invoices.
And then here's the other one. And it's reimbursement to the Supreme Court.
Oh, I would need to get that invoice. Do you want me to have him bring it up?
I was just curious why we're
My guess is this is
giving money to the Supreme
Is that
Court.
the IICM?
Yeah, it's the clerk's training, the courts training that we send a handful of people to. So this is probably it's a reissue, so we already paid the bill once, and they, we wrote the check, and it went to the Supreme Court. It went to the wrong place, so we're reissuing it, and that's why the description isn't as good as it should be.
Okay.
This is to pay for everybody that went to that ICM training, and that's just paying the correct vendor so that they can actually cash it.
Okay, all right. That was my comment on this one. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the commissioner's invoices as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is credit card approvals.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that
Oh,
we,
credit app.
yeah, it's a credit app.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the credit application and authorize chair signature.
have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then along with that, we have 2 approvals of people having credit cards.
We update those every 2 years, I believe.
Yep.
So,
That's what Whitney said.
And we want to need
Everybody's
a
getting-
motion for these as well.
yeah, might as well bring it back.
All right. Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the 2 cardholder user agreements as presented in the packet.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have certificates of residency. Got a few of them.
You can't let me stack this stuff. I'll do a good job. Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the certificates of residency as presented.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have salary rate approval forms.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the salary rate approval forms as presented.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Take care of that business. So we go into our work session. Ryan, you're up.
Great. And this is regarding the tool allowance, correct?
Yep.
And I believe Kyle and Buddy have come to talk about that too. So, Moral support. Great.
You might need it. Been one of them days.
Okay, so as you can see in the packet, we have a policy to put forward, just to talk about, right? This was developed with, by the department, myself and Christie, and, or at least, she's made comments and helped. We put this together based on our understanding of discussions that happened during the budget creation regarding the tool allowance. And according to my memory, this aligns with what was talked about. But we're coming to you guys to see if you have any feedback or concerns with what's been proposed here.
And I've got a couple more comments since some changes from when I submitted them the first time,
Okay?
and some changes we've made. So on section C, it talks about the positions that'll be eligible. Mechanic 1, Mechanic 2, and Mechanic 3, we can take off that heavy equipment operator.
Okay, I had it
description,
highlighted.
Because
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
was Carson, and he's now Mechanic 3.
Right.
So we can take that off.
Good catch. I thought we even took that off. So good catch.
And then under E, Bannock County shall have a standard procedure for tool allowance payment to ensure, I don't think we need timely payment, and I think we just put to ensure compliance with federal and state laws. I'm not sure what that timely payment reference is for. Unless it's payment to the individuals, but
Yeah, to the individual was the intent.
okay.
We could clarify that.
This year, we haven't made timely payment just because we don't have this in place, but.
Right.
We will moving forward.
That's why we're putting this
So,
together.
Yeah,
Yeah, the intent was timely payment for the individuals.
yeah. But we'll have that as a standard practice. I don't think we need to include that on here. It should be just a given. And then on the next page,
While we're there, in
Yeah.
that section, will be paid in one lump sum at the date to be determined by the budget cycle.
yes.
What's the thought process on that? After the budget? So like paid November 1st or?
What we do right now, so like for court marshals, they get a lump sum around November. So that was probably about the same thought process. We could do it in October, we could do it in November. It would just be after the fiscal year started.
Okay.
So along that same line, just in the claims that we just have, I have bibs, coveralls, I have raincoats, I have boots, I have all this stuff. Is there a set time that we do all that stuff too, that this corresponds with?
For those items, we have not had countywide a consistent.
We could do that. Well, our, kind of what we do is, it's kind of the same year every time that we do that. It's in the first of the year, like.
First quarter?
November, yeah, yes. That's when we do it. We don't, it's not, unless there's a new employee that needs some safety gear, it's not sporadic, it's at first quarter.
And that's what it's coming across right now. I mean, the last few claims, we've had a bunch of all that stuff, and why wouldn't we throw it in there like the first quarter?
And we could define this a little bit more and put within the first quarter. Well, then it's clear.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
The only time that's gonna be different is new
For-
hires
right.
or something like that, but that's always an exception.
Yeah. If we clarified that to just say in the first quarter, then that's
Okay.
fine.
In first quarter of fiscal year.
Yeah.
And then under F, the red highlighted part talks about a mechanic must agree to remain employed for 12 months after receiving the tool allowance. When we originally talked about this at budget time, we just said for the fiscal year, not for 12 months. But that also brings up a question of, right now, we have a mechanic position that hadn't been filled, or maybe it had, but we just hired a new mechanic. So we need to figure out how we're going to handle a mechanic that, say, isn't starting until January. Do we just give them 9 months worth? And then
That was a question I had here as well, so.
Because I think that's how, from an implementation side, what I foresee is we'll give it to them in October, November. It'll be for the fiscal year. So as long as they work for the fiscal year, they get that money, they don't have to reimburse it, not necessarily 12 months. And then if we have somebody leave, so you're working in the fiscal year, we give you a payment in November, but then you turn around and leave in March, then you have to pay back the prorated amount, which is in here. But then when a new person starts, they'll only get, depending on when they hire, so they start in June, we'll just give them June, July, August, and September worth. We'll have to work out the funding of that, because if we've paid somebody and then they reimburse it, that money, that budget authority is gone, but we can work that side out on a basis. So, but anyways, back
So
to
that's
this.
not addressed in here, but it sounds like we can put a line in there about new hires, right? And how it would be a prorated amount because it's starting on the fiscal year that they would receive, and also a prorated amount that they'd have to pay back.
That if, again, let's just say I start 6 months into the year and 30 days in, I go, no, I'm not gonna do it. And, I mean, is that cause your department any problems tracking something like that?
Now, right now, for the road and or for the post people, Teresa does all that, but we're not talking that many employees.
Yeah.
So I think just we can do a cooperative on it and then say, we paid you that, you need to pay it back. Now, if we know somebody's gonna retire and they're willing to give us that date, then I think it would be beneficial to say, how much, can we give you the 9 months?
We'll prorate that.
Because otherwise you're gonna have to turn around and pay it back. And I think it would just be cleaner if we could do it that way.
Yeah, so just change that to must agree to remain employed during the fiscal year after receiving the tool allowance. If otherwise, then you have to pay it back.
Yeah. Because that was how we had talked the intent
Yeah.
of the budget when we
Yeah.
were doing it.
I think if we made that change, that makes sense.
And then in D, mechanics will be responsible to replace tools with allowance funds when a tool is damaged, broken, or lost.
That's the one that we were talking about. That we feel that with everything that updates all the time and stuff, you're gonna have to keep updating their tools and stuff like that. So I'd like to still have it that if during work, and we usually check it and make sure it wasn't damaged because of something besides just normal work.
Using a wrench as a hammer.
Right.
Yeah,
Something like
that we would replace
not supposed
that,
to do that?
because for that allotment, that's pretty much keeping up with the times of new tools for different things and stuff like that. But if they're wearing them out, I feel we should still do it the same way as.
But then it goes back to what it says here. They're gonna get an allotment every year. Means that they update,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what it's there for.
Yes.
If they're getting an allotment, because if they come to work and in the first 3 months, they're supposed to have all their tools.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna give the original allotment, and then the other one is to keep everything, the other allotments each year is to keep everything up to date. They shouldn't have to be buying the full set of tools or the full
No.
But the tools
every year.
The tools we're requiring are like the bare minimum. I mean, there's still gonna be more scanners and more specialty tools that they are gonna have to buy, and that's what he's saying. That $1,000 will go towards buying those new specialty tools or
But
whatever they may need.
most of these tool companies guarantee their tools for life.
Yeah.
Depends what it
And we
is.
have them
Right.
shop through them as much as possible, so it isn't a cost to the county if they just get them replaced.
So I
anyway.
guess that's part of my question is,
Well, I gotta dumb this down for me for just a second. So I buy a hammer using the tool allowance. 6 months in, I break that hammer. The current policy now says you guys replace that hammer?
that's what it says right here.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's
Right.
what we've been
We-
doing, minus not having the tool allowance, but.
Yeah, so they haven't had the tool allowance, but if they do it, something to their tools while they're working, you know, because there's tools that stay on the job and everything, that we will replace it, because it's hard, because some of these like air wrenches and stuff, so they have all their own air guns, all these things that you can be $500, $600 for one air gun.
Right.
And so it's kind of hard to try to keep up with all of that, so, you know, They're keeping the amount of tools that they need to fix whatever they have to do. That's their responsibility, and that would be what the tool allowance was. And what us still replacing is very few things, because this isn't a lot of stuff that we replace. It's just a few things here and there that get used a lot that could need it. And like I say, they use the tool companies that usually guarantee their stuff anyway.
Snap-on.
So there's just a few things that might be something that didn't get covered by Snap-on or something.
And this is a pilot program, so if we left the policy the way it is right now, that if you break something, damage something, to no fault of your own, just it wearing out, that the county replaces it, if that, we could track that, and if that starts to get really expensive, different than what we're doing now, then we can always pull that back. But right now, that's the policy that we're going with, so.
But I don't mind what we have in here, honestly, because it just says, you're gonna get a tool allowance, things wear out. We paid for it in the first place. We're gonna replace it, but it's gonna be under the stipulations, that it's just part of your allowance that's coming up, or whatever.
But it's not like we really paid for their tools. I mean, we're gonna go out with this $1,000, but they came in with $15,000 of tools. Because we don't pay for any of it, you know, they have to supply all their tools
Yeah.
when they hire on.
Yeah, $1,000 is gonna buy not even a quarter of these off a Snap-on truck. But
So-
they are lifetime warranty, like you said, though,
Yeah.
too, so,
Yeah,
which we shouldn't
I
have to
mean,
replace them at that point either, so.
they have a choice. You don't make them use Snap-on, they can go over here to Harbor Freight, and for $1,500, they can buy $15,000 worth of tools that are not as good as,
They'll break next month, so.
yeah. And I guess that's part of the deal there, is they have responsibility in what tools they buy. They can't buy a Harbor Freight tool and then us replace it with a Snap-on tool.
Exactly.
we don't.
Yeah.
That
And
just,
we don't.
Yeah.
And we can,
and that's where you guys are gonna have to step in and watch and look at what they had and what they get.
How do you guarantee that, or how do you monitor that?
They have to show us the broken tool,
Okay.
so then I'll know which one it is.
so they bring it in, get it approved before they ever replace the tool or whatever, and what happened and what they used the tool for.
And I only questioned this because we are doing $1,000 and the intent was just to help supplement the tools and not really to change current practice. So that was the only reason I even questioned if that should be in here or.
And that's what we have for
the current-
this year, this budget
Right,
year, is
right.
$1,000.
Yes. That could change next year. It could be.
They
nothing
can't
next
change
year.
it like they did on their boots and say, well, you get $50 more this year than last year. Correct?
Correct.
No, why not?
So with what I'm hearing, we may need to change the language, because we're talking about
Yeah, it will
replacing.
need to change.
Yeah,
So it's up to the board. Do you want to keep the current practice that we replace a tool that's broken, the county pays for it? Or do you want to require the mechanic to use part of their allowance to do that? So which means we no longer pay for broken tools.
I say we try this for a year as currently constituted and see what it amounts to. If it is out of control, then we change it next year.
Okay.
Because I mean, I can see where I spend, like you said, $500 on my tool allowance to buy an air gun or something, and halfway through the year, that dies for whatever reason. Okay. So let's try it and see what happens.
Okay, well, and we can manage that too, and make sure it doesn't get out of hand before.
adjust that.
Well, this is an add-on, so it'll be evaluated.
And then I can't remember if the front, so on the next one, the administrative notes. My vote is we just change that to administrative notes, Bannock County, and don't stipulate Public Works, because if we ever decide to do something different, we don't want to, future commission may get rid of Public Works as an umbrella. So I think we just put Bannock County, and then we know it addresses anybody that is a mechanic.
Okay, and not a bad idea, just for background, why we set it up this way is we want to have a policy that applied to the entire county, and then the admin notes was something that could, and we, again, kind of like as we typically do policies, something that's can stick and last a little longer. And then the admin notes is something that's gonna change and fluctuate, easier to change and fluctuate. But,
Well, I'm just saying if, say
doesn't matter.
Road and Bridge and landfill are no longer under the Public Works umbrella. Say Scott decides to take over Road and Bridge, then it's not Public Works anymore. So I was trying to create more flexibility by just saying administrative notes. I mean, I'm not dying on that sword
Yeah.
by any means. I just was trying to prevent adjusting it every year.
So I am all for. I hate reviewing the same thing every year for 2 words.
And then number 1, we need to take out heavy equipment operator again. And then, I mean, depending on what you decide to title it, if you change anything there. This says that newly hired mechanics are not eligible for the tool reimbursement until their 6-month introductory period is over. If that's gonna stay in place, then Road and Bridge is gonna have to manage that and tell us when to pay it. Because I think it would be easier for us just to include that. If you start, we pay it within the first month of your.
What is the likelihood of you hiring somebody and them not lasting 6 months?
We haven't seen it yet, but we had one that made it about a year, but.
Yeah,
Right.
But-
When I went to the state.
Mhm.
But our other part of the policy says that you hire them and you give them the allotment and they last 1 month. They
They gotta pay it back.
reimburse us for the,
Yeah, and that's why I just wondered if that is necessary, that you have to wait for 6 months.
I don't see why it would be.
well, that's part of the motivation of hiring somebody.
Right.
We're gonna give you
Well,
a
and that's what
$1,000
we're-
allotment for tools
Kinda talking about where they have to have them from the day they start, so.
within 3
They
months.
might have 3 months to buy them. Right.
I
I
would
mean,
say
they're
we
gonna
could
sign
strike
it, they
that
have to
then.
pay it back if they don't stick out that whole year, so.
Yeah, I would say we strike that then. Also, I just, as a thought for discussion on number 3, do you want to list the acceptable brands?
No,
Just to be on the safe side, so there's,
no, like you say, with different places you can get them,
yeah.
disposable tools or.
Disposable tools are not acceptable.
How many people go to yard sales? They used to go to yard sales all the time, pick up rusted, no good tools.
That'd be just a suggestion.
Yeah, I like it.
And then number 8 goes back to our discussion earlier about mechanics will be responsible to replace tools with allowance full funds. Based on our current policy, that statement needs to go away. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Just making sure I kept up with our discussion.
Okay?
Okay. What do you think of the tool allowance agreement form? Any reservations with that? I started with what the sheriff uses, but I made some revisions for this.
I think if we're not gonna make them work for the 12 months, we just need to put the remainder of the fiscal year instead of the 12 months.
Okay.
And I had a question on I understand this agreement is void if I am dismissed through no fault of my own. When would that be, like reduction in force?
Yeah.
Why don't we specify reduction in force? Because anybody that leaves is gonna say, if you fire somebody, they're gonna say, well, it wasn't my fault, I don't have to pay it back.
That's a good point.
Good point. Yep, no, and that may be language we want to fix on the sheriff's too.
So just along with that, on that previous one where we talked about the 12 months, you could probably get rid of the whole first part of that. I agree to remain an employee for 12 months after receiving the tool allowance. You just cut all that off and just say, if I terminate my employment, I will, yeah.
Okay,
It's easy to go through a draft and critique. It's not hard to write one, so we had the easy part. You guys have the hard part.
Well, anything else?
Not yet.
Okay.
Like you said, this is a guinea pig.
Okay. Well, we can get those things fixed and probably have it back to you. Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Is that okay? Think we can?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work
I
on
don't
that.
know. It's gonna be handed in by tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline.
Oh, is it?
Noon.
Noon.
And I'm not Christie. It's gonna be a hard noon deadline. Because it takes me a lot longer than it takes her.
Yeah. I think we can do it. Okay, we'll try
Tomorrow
it.
or next Thursday.
Okay, sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
You guys.
See ya.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
We received a request from Idaho Power, just to put on letterhead, this is letter of support for Idaho Power Company, grant application for Idaho Emergency Resilience Grant Program. What they want to do is
They want to bury the power lines.
Johnny Creek.
Johnny Creek.
up Johnny Creek, he's buried the lines. So, did you read through that?
I did, and I was happy to support that. I think that's wonderful for that area. So, Mr. Chair, I would move that we authorize signature for the support letter as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Braden, I think you're up.
All right, Braden Clayson, Chief of Staff. Before you today, I have the updated version of the locum contract for the forensic pathologist that had come to us about a month ago, a little over maybe. We sent it to legal for some revisions. Alan has signed off on that. I think Brian's seen that one as well. There weren't many things that need to be adjusted. And the price per scheduled day of autopsy work that we request from them is listed in there, which is a little bit lower than what it initially was as well, about $1,000 lower. So, to be clear on the billing, they will only come when we schedule them. There's no minimum monthly requirement or anything like that. It's just as needed.
I'm glad that we don't have a monthly fee or a commitment that we have to meet
Yep.
as we get started on this. And
Yep.
if we can't have enough autopsies for them when they come, then it's our fault. Questions?
Are any of these are these just gonna be Bannock County autopsies, or is this part of
It'll
the?
be the regional autopsies.
It'll be the regional thing.
Anything that the facility wants that we're standing will come down, so.
And we've got the agreement for the regional stuff that will pass out next week at the thing, so everybody can see that and take that back to their county. So theoretically, when we start doing this, then we'll have paperwork ready to go.
We'll get to see that too.
I think it's been through legal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the forensic pathology staffing agreement as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And